and Nick.
Welcome to That Superhero Thing podcast, where we discuss the latest superhero and comic book movies and TV shows. I'm your host, Nick, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Anthony.
Hello.
So we've got another guest host today, Anthony. This week we have got Ren from REN GEEKNESS YouTube channel. He's going to be joining us later in the show for the second of our What If Chronicles event, which is exciting. It's going to feel weird when it's just me and you talking about next week, basically.
I'll just be bored.
Thanks, mate. I wouldn't say anything. That's horrible. Anyway, moving
exactly
on.
What you said to me last week.
I know it was funny when I did it, though, because it wasn't a dig at me. Anyway, so on this week's show, we're going to break down all the latest comic book movie news, including another delay for Venom 2, some more scrapped What If episodes, our first look at Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight costume, and a brand new Eternals trailer, which just dropped today when we're recording, so Thursday. So we're going to have to delve into that and go into that in a bit more detail. We'll then be giving you a full recap and review of What If Episode 2 with our guest Ren before discussing your thoughts and theories in this week's Podfans Assemble. This is also your spoiler warning. There will be spoilers and speculation throughout the episode. If you want to skip ahead to the What If review or to the Eternals trailer discussion or straight to Podfans Assemble, we will put timestamps in the description like we always do. So news then. Let's start with some Spider-Man No Way Home news, or kind of like lack of news. We've still not got a trailer. Last week I said it was 119 days to the movie came out. I was wrong. It's 119 days now. I was just a week ahead. I was just trying to like preempt it. We've still not got one. A trailer. We've got some rumors about the trailer. So there was a rumor going around earlier in the week that the Indian version of the trailer is currently being dubbed, which would imply that we might be getting it soon. And then the rumor doing the round now is that the trailer is coming at CinemaCon, which is running from the 23rd to the 26th of August, but it's not going to be shown to the public. It's literally just going to be at CinemaCon. So we won't get to see it. I don't know whether that means we won't get to see it at all or just at this stage. I think I kind of want that, because I want somebody to be able to confirm to me that Toby and Andrew are in the film, but I don't really want to see it. I don't want it spoiled. Does that make sense?
I'm at the stage now where I don't want to see any trailer.
Really? Do you not want to know whether they're in it though?
I'm past it now. I'm just like, just give me the film.
Oh no, I want the film, but I want to know if they're in there, because I feel like if I don't know that Toby and Andrew are in this, and I get to the cinema and I watch it and Toby and Andrew aren't in it at all, I'll be really disappointed. It's only going to be exciting if I don't know they're in it and they're in it.
Essentially, you just want to curb your disappointment now.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. If I don't, do you know what? I'll be all right with it. No, it's 119 days away. I've got 119 days to get over this. I've got 119 days to get to grips with the fact that we're not getting multiverse. We must be. Do you know what though? Willem Dafoe was interviewed this week by The Wrap, and he was asked if he's in the sequel, and he said, I've got lots of stuff happening now, and I always feel like when a film comes out, that's when it's time to talk about it. So it's not a no, and it's not a no comment. It's kind of like he's doing a better job than Tom Holland, but it's not really an answer.
Yeah,
it's not really an answer, is it? But yeah, fingers crossed I don't know. I was going to say fingers crossed we'll get a trailer soon. We don't know if we want one now. Marvel, you've strung us along too long. We go away now. We're not interested.
You played with our emotions, and now we're over it.
Exactly. And we've still got 119 days to get to grips with it. Staying on the Spider-Man train to a degree then, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, has been delayed again. We literally just talked about this last week.
I know.
We sat there and said, we're getting it on the 15th of September, and the States aren't getting it till 24th.
From what I'm getting at the moment, everyone's seeing how Shang-Chi is going to do overall, and then make the decision based off the back of that. That's why there's still no confirmation about what's happening with the Eternals and stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get on to Eternals, but there's still not. There's been a bit of talk about whether it's coming to Disney Plus simultaneously or not.
Yeah. They basically haven't made that decision. So
and it's still not been confirmed that it's exclusive cinema release.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah,
it's
not been confirmed whether it's cinema, both, or just streaming or what. And I think that it's going to be based on how Shang-Chi does before they make that decision. And I think there's a potential that the other companies are watching to see how Shang-Chi does, to see whether it's worth holding things back a little bit longer or what. And I think that's why Venom has pushed them back.
Yeah, but the thing that concerns me with Venom, it's been pushed back to the 15th of October. But are they going to push back the rest of their slate? Because, I mean, not superhero related, but Sony have also supposed to have Hotel Transylvania 4 coming out middle of October. I think it's that weekend. I think Venom's replaced it. But that's not going. They reckon that's not going to come out in cinemas now. They've made a deal for $100 million with Amazon Prime to put it straight on Prime.
Transylvania.
So it's going to skip cinemas.
What?
Transylvania, yeah, that well-known film, Transylvania House 4. What?
You literally just said it. I don't know.
I've literally just told you what it's called. Hotel Transylvania 4. I was going to say with Adam Sandler, but Adam Sandler's not in it anymore.
He's not in it anymore.
He's quit. Now he's quit. But anyway, we've talked about Hotel. We've talked about Transylvania House 4 for far too long. But yeah, I'm not concerned about Transylvania House 4. I'm concerned about Spider-Man getting pushed back. Okay. That's my worry. No, just no. Anthony says no. It was supposed to come out after Doctor Strange on the original plan.
I know, but no, it's not. We're not
going to need reshoots and everything if they do that. But yeah, fingers crossed we'll have some news soon. Even if we don't get a trailer and we just find out when it, get confirmation as to when it's coming out. That's all we need. We just need a bit of certainty at this point. We carry on,
I would love, just saying, if they did a trailer, I'd love something that's like a nothing trailer, but something. So I'd love it to be like just one more news report from
JJ.
Yeah, I think that'd be brilliant if they just did
that hints at multiverse.
Yeah, something going on, but we don't.
How devastated will you be if we then don't get multiverse?
Well, they won't do a news. I bet on multiverse if it's not multiverse. What I mean is just
be. They could do though, because Quentin Beck was supposed to be from an alternate universe, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he wasn't.
But I just think that would be a really good way to advertise it without giving anything away. Just another report on sightings of Spider-Man being in a lot of places too quickly, and they're trying to work out why. Maybe.
Oh yeah, I like that. Clever. The faces Anthony's pulling is. I wish everyone could see these. He's so impressed with himself.
I'm an idiot. I'm okay with it.
Anyway, moving on a little bit then. So we'll get back to Marvel-ish type things. I've got to talk about this. We won't talk about it for very long. Today we got the Eternals trailer, but we also got another trailer today, which I don't know what's happening. We've got a trailer for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe on Netflix. Not that He-Man and the Masters of the Universe that we talked about the other week, which we thought was brilliant. They're pulling a full-on Warner Brothers here, and we're getting a different He-Man to run alongside the He-Man that we've already got.
Yeah,
and it looks garbage. It's all CG animation. I feel like we try and be nice on this podcast, and I know it's aimed at kids, but it looks
awful.
Doesn't look good, does it? It's like
and they put more clothes on He-Man. Like the
because he can't. Dignity. They have. Yeah, it's just not. It's not good. And Skeletor in Skeletor all the time. He's a dude who turns into Skeletor, like He-Man, like Adam turns into He-Man. According to the trailer, I don't know what they're thinking. We've already talked about it for far too long. Why release? I know this is aimed at kids, and the other one wasn't aimed at kids, but why release two new series? Yeah. It's just confusing. And if anything, and if this is garbage, it's possibly going to do damage to the good He-Man. Back on to Marvel news then. I think the rest of the news is Marvel, to be fair. Shang-Chi. So we know Shang-Chi is out on the 3rd of September. We've had it confirmed by Screen Rant that there are going to be 2 post-credit scenes. So don't be one of them people who leaves the cinema. Wait, there's 2. Yeah. Don't walk away. Wait, we don't know what they are. We're trying to avoid spoilers for Shang-Chi. Apparently somebody's back. Shang-Chi. Probably shouldn't have said that because now we're going to get inundated with tweets. Yeah, Anthony knows. I've done well here. I've not. I don't know what it is. But yeah, the premiere was on.
I'm just going to put it out there. MovieWeb, you've got a lot to answer for. Rude.
What? Did they just put it out there? It can't. If MovieWeb put it out, it can't be that a bigger deal.
Well, it was enough to annoy me. If it's right,
you want it to go completely blind.
The way it's been said is that it is right. And loads of people have commented on it saying, cheers, you've ruined it. Well in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Loads of people.
It's not good then.
Why have you
not good then?
Why have you even bothered doing that? So
not good. A bit more Marvel-ish news. We are getting a Disney Plus Day coming in November. So we already knew that we're getting a DC fandom again in October. So it's kind of like DC's virtual Comic-Con, because we didn't get the Comic-Con proper Comic-Con last year. DC did their own event. So that's coming back in October this year. And then Disney have announced that they're going to do their own version, which is on Friday, the 12th of November. And it's to celebrate the 2-year anniversary of Disney Plus. So it's going to be, we're expecting it to be the same as with DC. What? 2 years?
2 years already.
And it's gone quick, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We're expecting it to reveal the same sorts of stuff as DC is going to reveal. So movie reveals, so reveals for things that we didn't know were coming. Trailers for things that we haven't had trailers for yet. It's just basically, it's kind of like just Disney's version of Comic-Con. Some of the stuff that has been confirmed for that weekend, again, not really superhero related. Jungle Cruise is going to be available without Premier Access on Disney Plus, and we're getting a new film called Home Sweet Home Alone, which is basically a Home Alone reboot. Don't know how I feel about that.
I thought we were getting like a more R-rated Home Alone with Ryan Reynolds. Is that a thing? Have I made that up?
I don't think so. I think that's just Deadpool. Where have you got that from?
I don't know now.
I'd watch it.
I'd watch it. I think it'd be quite funny, but I can't.
I'd watch that.
I essentially think it's about like him getting really high and not knowing what's going on.
Did you dream this?
Very possibly.
Very possibly. So keep it on Disney Plus subject. Then we got some leaks of the new Moon Knight costume. And we got some photo leaks. We got some concept art, and there's been a set video all appeared online this week of Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight costume. So it's pretty solid. Then if there's that many different leaks about it, what do you think of it? What do you think of the Moon Knight costume? Do you like it?
Moon Knight is different, one that I've never really explored before, if I'm totally honest. So
that's a really nice way of saying you don't know who you didn't know Moon Knight was until you found out there was going to be a TV series with Oscar Isaac. He's nodding. He's nodding away.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's different. It's a very different take. I don't know massive amounts about Moon Knight, but in the comics, he looks similar to what Taskmaster would have looked like in the comics. Okay. So I'm quite impressed that they haven't done what they did to Taskmaster in Black Widow and just turn him into a robot, essentially, and like have some big mech suit. I like the fact that they've not gone down that route. It looks different. We could have very easily just ended up with another Iron Man with a cloak. Do you know what I mean? We could have gone down that route, but I like it. I think it looks interesting. I'm really excited to see what Oscar Isaac does with the character. More scrapped What If episodes. So if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we said that the head writer for What If, AC Bradley, had to scrap an episode because it was too similar to half of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Well, this week she did an interview with Vanity Fair, and it turns out there were quite a few ideas that didn't make it to full episodes. They rattled off loads of them. Some of the ones I picked out, there was one where the Rocketeer was going to join Cap and Peggy fighting the Nazis, but they had a problem with that because it was pulling a character from a different property. So it's kind of sensible why they didn't do it. There was going to be a Noble Loki episode where he was the worthy one, and he was the one who ends up wielding Mjolnir, which would have been good. There was one where Peter Parker, when he was bitten by the spider, turned into like a spider monster, and it was like a proper body horror episode, sort of like American Werewolf in Paris or American Werewolf in London sort of thing. Kevin Feige said no, too graphic. We can't go down. It's Peter Parker. Everybody is supposed to be like naive and innocent. You can't turn him into a.
Just call it the man spider.
Exactly, yeah. And then my favorite one, they were going to do a Captain Hydra episode where Steve was working for Hydra. Now that's been done in the comics, but she gave AC Bradley gave a bit of a breakdown of it. She said, my idea was that if Steve fell off the train, we jump forward in time, and Steve Rogers is the kind of man that when he believes something is right, he goes to the ends of the earth to do it. So if he's been brainwashed by Hydra, he's going to go full throttle and be like 100% on board with them, and obviously not stop until they've won. She said it would have seen Bucky, Peggy and Howard teaming up to stop him alongside the Red Skull, because he'd basically been kicked out of Hydra and replaced by Steve Rogers. So Red Skull would have been joining the team to try and stop Steve Rogers. Why did we scrap that? That sounds
awesome.
Amazing. That sounds like such a good episode. Again, I like we'll talk about it when we get into What If with Ren, but I suppose it's another one of them. They've taken a pretty decent bad guy and turned him into a good guy and turned him into an anti-hero, which is sort of what they do. So maybe it would have been too similar to the Thanos side of things in this week's What If. Anthony Mackie has officially signed on for Cap 4. It's been reported by Deadline. He's signed on the dotted line this week. That is news. And it's the last bit of news before we go into the Eternals trailer. But I feel like it was inevitable. Wouldn't you have been more surprised if the news had been Anthony Mackie hasn't signed on for Captain America 4? I mean, I'm glad he has. I'm glad he has. But I suppose I think was Cap 4 100% confirmed, or was it really strong rumors? And now it's maybe 100% confirmed that we're getting it.
At this point, I can't remember what's rumor, what's true, and what's false.
I know there's so much floating about, isn't there?
I know.
Should we talk about the Eternals trailer then?
Yes, let's.
Have you seen it?
I have seen it, and anybody else who's following us on TikTok will notice that I've accidentally written the Externals instead of the Eternals because of
I forgot about that.
Correct, and I didn't even
telling
notice.
You could have got away with that. I didn't notice. You didn't notice.
I'm putting my hands up to it. I've written the Externals, and it's already gotten views, so I'm not taking it down and redoing it. So we'll just have to deal, quite frankly.
So Anthony, what did you think of the Externals trailer?
Do you know what? On a serious note, loved it. I feel like we've got a little bit of an understanding now as to like what's going on and why they're here, because every question that was asked has been answered without giving too much away from the first trailer, if that makes sense. So I'm
I know what you mean.
And I'm liking that we're seeing a bit more action as well, because we really didn't know what avenue this format was going to go down. And so to see kind of that little bit of action and seeing some of the powers that they've got and things like that, I'm really quite excited about it now, more so than I have been up until this point.
I would agree. I mean, I'm always excited for more MCU stuff, but I felt like, and I know like when we got Guardians of the Galaxy, we didn't know them and we never really heard of them. And it ended up being like one of the best MCU movies. Yeah. And I hoped this would be the same, but I wasn't really sold on it until
I was really worried it was going to be too much of a talky film. You know, to build the story. I was worried that it was just going to be essentially a Batman v Superman type film, where there was going to be like one or two scenes of action, but mainly discussion and story build and stuff.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. So it was too powerful, basically. Too powerful, and like who are they gonna fight? It does look like they've maybe toned them. I don't know. I know the fight. I know like the bits in the trailer. You see like Icarus or Richard Madden fighting Deviants. Yeah, but it's not just like he's wiping them out in 2 seconds. It's a challenge, but I suppose we don't know how powerful the Deviants are.
The only thing I can think is if they didn't they've explained now they didn't come for Thanos because they weren't allowed to get involved unless it involves a deviant. Yeah. So, and now that they've basically explained that the return of the other half of the galaxy has caused that much of an
energy surge.
Yeah. That it's awoken all of the deviants at once. So whereas they were kind of just wandering around and the odd one comes up every decade or so, it now looks like there's going to be an army of them coming.
There's loads of them,
yeah. So that's kind of the feeling that I've got, which obviously explains why they're there and they're so powerful. Is that this is going to be quite a powerful enemy.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And I think it also signals even more changes from the MCU. I mean, I know we knew the snap was going to be a good way of changing things up, and obviously we've got the whole multiverse going on as well. But
I love that
bigger things.
I love though that they've not gone, it's done now and we're forgetting about it. I love that there's still ripple effects from what's happened in the past. And I love that level of continuity, that it's just like, okay, it's done now and we're on to the next story. We'll know this next story is going to be affected by things that have happened in the past. I love that about it. I think it's amazing.
And again, it all comes down to the continuity in the MCU, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Some of the things we saw in the trailer, we saw Richard Madden as Icarus. We saw his powers. We see him in a little bit more detail towards the end of the trailer. We see Gemma Chan as Cersei, and we see Kit Harington as well. I think it's the first time we've seen him in one of the trailers. But again, she explains to him, doesn't she? She like you just said, the fact that they've been there for 7,000 years, and obviously, like you said, they're not allowed to interfere unless it's deviants. But then when he says, "Who told you?" Basically, who told you you're not allowed to interfere? And then we see the Celestial, which was just, I knew we were getting Celestials, and we've seen Celestials before, but I watched it on my phone, but I still was like, that dude is huge and extremely intimidating. This is like a whole different level of villain, basically, than we've ever had. I think that Celestial, I think he's the leader of the Celestials. I think his name, apologies if I'm completely getting this wrong, Arishem, I think his name is. I think people think he's not the Celestial that we see in Guardians of the Galaxy that the Collector shows us. This one's the leader of them, and he's basically the judge.
Right.
And he decides what civilizations are going to live and which ones are going to get destroyed. Now, if he sent them to Earth, he's obviously thought to a degree they need to be saved, because otherwise he wouldn't have sent them there. But I wonder whether maybe now it's going to end up being a case of, would they need to go? Maybe not that humans are too powerful, but if we've been able to sort of as a race get rid of defeat Thanos and bring the 50% of the universe back, then maybe they see it as a threat. Which I suppose when you got like Captain Marvel, they are to a degree, aren't they?
Yeah.
We see deviants for the first time in this trailer as well, because I don't think we've seen them yet.
No.
They all look pretty different, to be fair. Yeah. The dragon one that Icarus fights, though, I just instantly thought, have you seen Evolution?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like the dragon. It just, as soon as it came out of the water, I was just like, that's one of them dragons from Evolution. That just literally looked exactly like it. I think the look of the film looks amazing. It's like all the visuals are stunning.
Yeah,
they've really gone, and hopefully they've not put all the decent visuals in the trailer.
Yeah,
it's going to be one of them films, but. This is what we were talking about with it being potential, because there's the rumors, as we said, so about it potentially coming to Disney Plus. So I think Variety at the Shang-Chi premiere, they asked Kevin Feige, where would we be watching Eternals? And he said, I think in a theater, that'd be my preference, but we'll see where we go with it. Now, looking at this trailer and the way it looks, you can't be watching this, and you can't be watching this at home. This needs to be like, this is like IMAX. I don't go to the IMAX to watch many, but this is like, you need to watch this in a cinema. You can't be watching this at home. As much as like, I feel like with Black Widow, you probably could have got away with watching it at home.
Yeah.
But this, I feel like this needs to be big scale, like you said, IMAX if you can get it. It needs to be. It's going to be a big blockbuster, isn't it?
Yeah.
The fighting, then again, you talked about it. The fight, the whole fight scene at the very, again, it's a couple of seconds at the very end of the trailer. It wasn't just like, which I think they could have ended up doing. It wasn't just like super Richard Madden Icarus just taking things to pieces in the blink of an eye like Superman. There was a level of threat there, and it was quite gritty. It's like the way that the deviant like had him pinned by the head, and he was using laser vision, I want to say, to try and fight it. It was like a struggle, but it just felt, say, realistic. You've got basically Superman with heat vision fighting a dragon from Evolution.
It felt balanced. That there was a decent enemy, and it's something that it's not just a quick fix.
No, it felt like there was a threat there, even though these beings are superhuman. Yeah, but yeah, it looks good. The cast looks brilliant. I like the fact that it seems to not be a completely serious film. They've got the usual MCU elements of.
I love that little section at the end with the table, and he's like, "What's this made of? Vibranium?" It's like the fall collection, IKEA.
IKEA. But again, it looked. And I know you can't always make every trailer full of humor, but it's probably like the first proper bit of humor. I think there was like a little bit at the table in the last trailer.
It was about when he was saying he could take over as the head Avenger from Cap and Stark.
But
and then they all just start laughing at him.
I know, but it didn't. That didn't to me have the sort of Marvel sense of humor about it. This was a little bit more like not tongue in cheek, but a little bit. I don't know. It just felt like a different type of humor.
And the guy saying, "You know what's never saved the world? Sarcasm." Or something like that.
Yeah. Stuff like that. It looks like it's going to be less of a just completely serious film, which is what we like. It's why Marvel's doing well. But yeah, excited. November 5th, everywhere. Probably everywhere. I meant like internationally, but probably going to be at home as well.
Remember the 5th of November.
Exactly. Something's happening that night, isn't it?
Bonfire night.
I know. It was a shame.
I know. Our American listeners.
Do our US listeners not have fireworks night on the 5th of
No,
November?
because it's Guy Fawkes going to the buildings of Parliament in the UK. It's a UK.
I didn't know it was a UK holiday. You learn something new every day.
Like the way we don't celebrate 4th of July. They don't.
Wow,
I don't think they do bonfire night. I don't think it's.
If Anthony would let me edit this out, I'd edit it out. But he's not.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. No.
I'm going to have to leave that. I'm going to have to leave this in. Moving swiftly on. Should we get Ren on to talk about what if?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right, so it's time to talk what if and time to introduce our special guest. So he's a director and screenwriter from London, and he also hosts the fantastic YouTube channel REN GEEKNESS. Welcome to the show, Ren.
Hi, thank you guys so much for having me. That is still humbling, even hearing it a second time. But I'm happy to join you guys. And happy to be with you guys. Happy to meet you, and happy to talk some MCU because there's nothing better to talk about.
Exactly. That's what we literally. That's why we started this podcast, because it's all going to be. To be fair, just thought we might as well start. We might as well start recording it. So Ren was telling us before, and obviously if you follow Ren on Twitter, YouTube, you'll know Ren's already seen episodes 1, 2, and 3. We're not going to probe too much about episode 3 yet. Maybe later. But what we're going to do is we're going to do our full breakdown and recap of what if T'Challa became a Star-Lord. There obviously will be spoilers all the way through. As usual, we'll talk through the episode in detail. We'll break it down. What did we like? What didn't we like? And then we'll all three of us give you our verdict at the end. So Ren, what we normally do is we try not to go into massive detail. We say this every week. We're not going to go into huge detail. And then I pull up like the opening credits and start talking about the opening credits. And I'm going to do the same again this week. So I promised myself I wasn't going to do it, but as soon as the opening credits started, I didn't know who was obviously going to be in this episode. We knew I knew it was going to be T'Challa, but as soon as I saw Josh Brolin in them opening credits, I was just the same. How? Where's this going to go? Did you have an idea? Because I mean, I don't know how much info you got beforehand, but did you know? Were you expecting Thanos or?
I had no clue because I honestly did not pay too much attention to those beginning credits. And so I knew it was a T'Challa Star-Lord episode. I knew Nebula was going to be in it. And we had seen pictures of the figures with the Nebula with the blonde wig and whatnot. Yeah. That's pretty much all I knew going in. And then when he shows up, and he's one of my favorite parts of the episode, but I'm sure we'll get to it. I love this episode.
Yeah,
it's good, isn't it? So you didn't twig onto it at in the opening credits. You didn't get onto it.
No, because I was probably looking at something else or sending a text or something while the credits rolled because they're always the same at the beginning of the episodes. Yeah. So then when the official begins, I'm like locked.
Do you know? I was going to say I'm surprised they didn't take your phone off you at the beginning. You're like putting it all in a plastic box at the beginning, saying no phone so that there's no spoilers.
I didn't give them my address. Otherwise they probably would have come.
That's it. Obviously, we'll get to Thanos in a little bit, but even noticing Josh Brolin in the credits didn't, because of how they did not take away at all. You know, we knew at that stage we were getting Thanos, but not even an inkling we were getting this Thanos, which was brilliant. But getting into the episode then, so before we even sort of really started, we got a bit of a better look at the Watcher, quick look of Jeffrey Wright's Watcher this week, but we didn't really we just heard him last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
I thought it was, I really liked last week. We talked about this last week, didn't we, on how they sort of did a recap of the original movie and then showed us straight away what the Nexus event was, which obviously changed from Steve to going to Peggy, it surprised me a little bit that we didn't stick to that format. I'm not that disappointed. I thought after seeing the first episode, this will be it now. This is how every episode will go. They'll give us a recap and then show us the tiny little detail that changes.
Yeah.
But it was quite a big change, to be fair, in this one. It seemed like rather than just like a tiny little one question being changed, it was quite big. But we started. I told you I'd waffle on and go into massive detail.
Well, to be fair, it was essentially two decisions this time, wasn't it? Because it was T'Challa leaving the bubble.
Yeah,
I said it in the best way, just the bubble, the Wakandan bubble.
Yeah,
and it was the fact that Yondu didn't go himself to collect the child.
Yeah,
so it was those two decisions combined, wasn't it? That led to this version.
Yeah, and I think that as well, because it, sort of summing it up to a degree, but the first episode was very much like it was still the first Avenger. It was Captain America 1, just with Peggy as Cap. This was whole different story, which is good because it shows you how like sometimes we talked about it last week, the butterfly effect. Sometimes it can make a tiny little difference, which is big. Peggy became Captain America, kind of, but this change just changed so much, completely. But getting into the episode, so we start off quite similarly to the start of Guardians. We get it, but it's T'Challa, Star-Lord on Morag. So many contrasts between this. There's loads to break. There's loads to pick apart here. Yeah. The first thing, Korath is amazing.
Yes,
Korath highlighted this episode.
Yeah. Proper fan.
So good. He was just full on fanboy. It was just that moment when obviously like Peter in Guardians of the Galaxy is like, I'm Star-Lord, how come you don't recognize me? And T'Challa doesn't even have to say who he is, and it's like, oh, it's Star-Lord, the legendary outlaw, Star-Lord. Should we be bowing?
There will be no need for that.
Exactly. But he keeps so T'Challa it's all changed, but he's still like his cool, dead respectable self, isn't he, T'Challa, which I love. But going back to Jimon Hunsu, who was obviously Korath, he's a brilliant actor. Ren, you'll have seen a lot more movies than me. I can't think of a movie where he's ever played the comic relief. He's always serious.
Yeah.
There's something in the back of my mind saying there is, but I couldn't tell you what it is, if there is one. But he channels it so well with just his voice. My favorite line, my favorite little exchange in that scene being, should we call you Lord? Should we be bowing? It's not an official title, nor one I am comfortable with. I love that little exchange.
Exactly. The whole thing's brilliant, but again, it shows the difference between. It shows how humble he still is, but the contrast. I thought the whole fight as well. It's not really a fight. It's like Korath wants to join the Ravagers, and he's like, "Can we fight? I won't use a gun. And then when he hits him in the face, he's like, "Sorry, sorry, my lord."
So good.
Absolutely brilliant.
Incredible. It's incredible, and it gives you just a glimpse of what the rest of the episode shows, that the impact of such a good person in the galaxy. Because yes, Peter Quill is an asshole with a heart of gold, but T'Challa he has nobility in his blood. Literally, he has virtue.
He's essentially pure,
altruistic. Yeah, exactly.
But he's still, even though he's not the Black Panther, and he's not necessarily out of the training because he's not got the powers. He's still hard as nails. Korath isn't a challenge at all. Whereas we see Korath in Guardians of the Galaxy, even though we see him like for a limited amount of time, he's quite formidable in Guardians of the Galaxy. But T'Challa, without any superpowers, just takes him to pieces. I suppose you got to wonder whether he was really trying or whether he was just like in awe at the fact that he's fighting Star-Lord, and he's just completely honored. So after he beats Korath, we get Michael Rooker back. Michael Rooker back as Yondu. I've missed Yondu so much. I still get upset about Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Do you know,
that's still hard to watch.
All I can ever hear when anyone mentions him now is, I'm Mary Poppins, yo.
That's it.
Every single time.
That's it. I'm surprised we didn't get the line, to be fair, or a similar line on it.
Pop culture reference.
T'Challa probably wouldn't know Mary Poppins, so he couldn't teach Yondu about Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
He probably couldn't know. Oh, gutted. He could have thought of something else, hopefully. I thought it was quite good as well because they have that little conversation after Yondu rescues him. And it sort of very, very quickly sort of sets the tone that the Ravagers aren't bad anymore. They were, so it's not like that major a change. But again, T'Challa, just by like you said, Ren, just like how good he is, has just managed to turn all the Ravagers, which now doesn't seem like a huge feat when you see Thanos later on. But at the time, it's like, how's he converted these people from just being complete outlaws to Robin Hood and his merry men, basically?
Yeah.
That's it, isn't it?
Also, I was really happy that they brought back Taserface. I'm just putting it out there.
I was going to say that.
I love
and the voice
so
too.
much.
It's the same actor.
Yeah.
It's the same actor, yeah. And Kraglin. Seeing Taserface not as a bad guy though was just again, he's just really good. He's really good as part of it. There was just all of the Ravagers just seems to be comic reliefs.
Yeah.
I didn't really, apart from Thanos, you didn't really see them do anything. They're all just like there for comic effect. So we go back at that. That's when it sort of takes us back, isn't it? And it shows us the Nexus event. So like you said, Anthony, Yondu's basically outsourced the job, and they've pretty much just grabbed the first kid, the first kid that they've seen. So they'd pretty much landed at Wakanda because of the cosmic energy there. Seen the first kid and just gone, yeah, that's fine. We'll just grab him basically. But Yondu clearly knew it wasn't Peter Quill. I don't quite get why Yondu was just like, yeah, forget the mission. We'll just take him. He wants to explore. Let's just be good and take him exploring. That was a bit weird to me.
It was like there's no turning back now.
I know, yeah, we've got him. We can't take him back. We can't return him. Not allowed to do that. That's probably what it was. Yeah, that's probably what it was.
I think it's the first effect of T'Challa's charm and nobility on someone is that moment with Yondu, and also he has to be curious about the fact that this random kid that they happened to catch was raised on top of a vibranium meteorite.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I think you've probably hit the nail on the head with how like his charm as well. It's like even when you do like a comparison between when Peter was picked up when he was a kid, and I know he's a kid, so you would, but he was screaming and he was terrified. Whereas T'Challa was like, this is amazing. You could I know it's a cartoon, but you could see it was like, this is great. I've been picked up by aliens. I'm going to go and explore. There was no fear there. And you'll probably find to a degree they were like, yeah, this is interesting. This is a child, and he's just not worried whatsoever. He just wants to come with us. Let's go with the flow. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
there
go,
are two types of kids.
Yeah, I'd be the screaming one.
I was going to say, me too.
I like to think I'd be the T'Challa, but I don't know if I'd actually be the Peter Quill. Depends on the age.
I'd like to think I'd be the T'Challa. I wouldn't.
I mean, to be fair, I think at 31 I'd still be like Peter.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
At this point, I'd probably be the T'Challa.
Yeah,
gonna be honest.
It's
so boring here on Earth.
I suppose. What did you say? It's boring.
It's boring here on Earth. If an alien came to pick me up, not like kidnap me, but say, "Hey, you want to come on a journey?" I'd be like, "Hell yeah, let's go."
Yeah, I suppose. I thought you said worrying at first. I was thinking, yeah, it probably is quite worrying on Earth at the moment. To be honest, I'd be like, "Yeah, go on, get me out of here straight away." So we then jump back to 2014, isn't it? It's 2000. It's set same time period.
Yeah,
it's gotta be. I don't remember if they show like a year at the beginning when T'Challa is a kid, because when we do the time jump, they just say 20 years later. So it is probably 2014.
Yeah, it was
okay, so it would be 2018.
2018.
No,
God, A-level in maths, yeah.
2008, yeah.
2008.
So it's even earlier.
Yeah,
because they say 20 years earlier. Oh, damn.
All our listeners are sitting here thinking, these three can't figure out 1988 plus 20 years.
I was never good at math.
I've got an A-level in it, but we'll brush past that one really quickly. Anyway,
all the blame
back to
lies on you.
2008. back to 2008, not 2014. So we get Korath still full on fanboying about the fact that he's now part of the Ravagers. They're in like a bar. The whole planet seems like a bar that they go to. Yeah. I don't know what planet it is.
I think it's the planet from. I don't remember the name of the planet, and I should, but I think it's that planet in Guardians 2. Where we see Yondu confronting Starhawk, the snowy planet. I think it's that one.
That's what I thought it might have been, because when they had the sex bot things, essentially.
Sex bots. Yeah. I love the way you went straight to the sex bots, Anthony. Well done.
Sorry.
Ren kept it professional talking about the snow. You went straight to the sex bots.
Let's be honest, I didn't remember the snow. Sorry.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. So we get Korath being a proper fanboy, and then that's it. We've got to talk about this probably for a little while. Thanos. We see the return of Thanos. Nothing like I thought it was going to be. I didn't realize how much I want to see a live action good Thanos until I saw this. You wouldn't even contemplate it. You wouldn't even contemplate it, would you?
He was so chill, wasn't he?
He was just like completely. It's just like but again, it's like, how good is T'Challa? It's like, I was gonna commit genocide, but then T'Challa taught me down, and I'm all right now. And now I'm just part of the team.
He still believes his ideal, though. That's what I found most interesting.
I love that.
He's not letting it go.
It's efficient. Yeah.
But you know what, though? And I'm not going to sit here and say like genocide of half the universe is the right way to do it, but that's why Thanos is such a strong villain. And he's probably one of the few where Marvel don't suffer from the villain problem, because even though it's completely mental, the way his mind works, you can see the logic behind it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's quite clever that they just kept pushing that. It's like, well, it does make sense. Yeah, it was genocide, and I shouldn't have done it, but it was still a good plan. It was still efficient. But that's why he's such a good villain, and Marvel haven't got many of them.
No,
the thing with the villains is like look at Loki, and they've kind of done it here. When Marvel have got a really good villain, they kind of turn them from being a villain into being a good guy, and we're going to be left with no villains because they're all going to be sort of like proper anti-heroes at the end of the day, which is what they've done. Which is what they've done here.
Well, in the case of Thanos, I would consider it different because it's a different Thanos. It's completely it's an alternate universe, and now, I mean, it sucks to bring like the real life situation into this, but unfortunately, there's no way. Our Thanos, well, obviously he's dead in the mainline MCU, but obviously there's no chance at him being converted by T'Challa, who's unfortunately gone.
Oh no, I know. But do you know what though? Hopefully, there's rumors already, aren't there, that we're going to start. We might see some live action what if characters in Doctor Strange. And
I can't say anything.
Last week, okay. Okay, so last week, I'm not going to probe, but last week we wanted.
Both of us then just went.
I know, it's a good job no one can see the cameras, isn't it?
I know.
I'll probably edit out about 5 seconds of me and Anthony with our mouths open and just stare at the screen. After last week, I was desperate for live action Captain Carter. And now, don't get me wrong, I'd love, it's like you said, Ren, I'd love live action T'Challa Star-Lord, but unfortunately, we know that's not going to happen. But if we can't have that, I want live action just for 5 minutes in Multiverse of Madness, just a little bit of live action Thanos.
A Thanos Christmas episode.
Yeah, you could in the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special that we're getting. Variant Thanos as Santa. Let's do that. Give him presents to everybody. So there's a few other people that we obviously see in the on the bar planet. We see Drax. So not for very long, which kind of makes sense why they probably didn't bring Dave Bautista back for it.
Yeah.
Because it was such a small part. Yeah. But glad we get him back. And again, the contrast in the fact that his wife and his daughter are still alive, which is brilliant, which is why he's not the Destroyer and he's basically working in a bar. Yeah. But he's still Drax. So he still doesn't get the metaphors at all. He's like, actually, it took you 6 days to rescue a planet. It wasn't all in a day's work. And then the fact that he's like, you look awful in this picture. We need to take another picture.
But I look great.
I look amazing.
He's just so funny.
I'm glad we got Drax. I'm glad we got Drax back. And then, we got Nebula. there's something. Obviously, we knew that we were getting this Nebula. Probably not this exact version. We knew we were getting like a non-cybernetically enhanced Nebula. But I didn't think she'd have been like taken by Thanos at all when we saw like the marketing material for it. So it was quite a good way of doing it. Something that's definitely happened between Nebula and T'Challa, though, wasn't it? That was the first thing I thought. Call them Cha-Cha.
This is a pairing I never knew I wanted, but just because of this pairing among all the other amazing stuff in this episode, I want just an entire show in this timeline with these Ravagers, with T'Challa, and I want to see more of them, because it's obviously the animation does a lot, but just the performances and the voices from Karen Gillan and Chadwick Boseman, there's such a sexual tension there that it's, and I don't mean this in a bad way, in a dirty way. It's the intention. So I really like to see that. I thought it was really amazing that just in 2 minutes, that first scene with them, you get so much out of their relationship.
Yeah, it tells a lot, doesn't it? And it shows. I mean, I think one of the biggest criticisms that a few people had of the first episode, and us, or me in particular, I didn't think that the voice acting in episode 1 was great at all. Some were, I think, some were average, some were great. There was, I think, a few of them were good. Like Josh Keaton as Steve, I think he was really good. Sebastian Stan didn't rate him at all, and I don't think, as much as I love Hayley Atwell, I think she was good, but I don't think she was incredible at the voice acting. But I don't know whether it was the script and the fact that they're trying to put her across this like 1940s sort of style of things. But this, it just took it to a whole different level. It was really well done all the way through. And again, the fact that you can just get on, like you said, Ren, you can get onto that whole relationship in just the way that they're reading the lines, because they can't emote, can they? And the way that they put it across, you just bought into it straight away. Yeah. You also find out at that stage that she obviously has been picked up by Thanos, but obviously he's let her go. No mention of Gamora though. No mention of Gamora, which I thought was a bit weird, because I suppose you don't know how recently Thanos turned away from the dark side, shall we say? But I was quite surprised that we didn't get any mention of her at all, unless they're just saving her for the Gamora episode.
I think they're purposely keeping her out, not necessarily because of a Gamora episode, but I think each of these episodes that we've seen now, you guys seen the first 2 at this point, and I guess the first 3 the third one continues this trend, which is there's a scene at the end that leaves it open for a continuation. And I think maybe not already this season, but maybe in season 2, we'll cherry pick the fans' favorite episodes. I think they'll cherry pick the episodes that the fans like the most and continue those stories in singular episodes.
Okay, yeah, I think that'd be a good way of doing it. So sort of cutting off from the story to a degree. And again, if you can't tell us to shut up. We might cut it out, we might not. I think a few people, when we look at like the criticisms of the show so far, because there are a few still, a few people seem to be, one of the criticisms is that they don't like the fact that every episode is a standalone episode and it's not sort of all heading towards the greater arc. Now, I mean, the way me and Anthony read it or have done for a while at least, is that even though we may be getting them as standalone episodes, they're all going to sort of intertwine and lead towards the main story arc of the multiverse for phase 4. Yeah. What's your opinion, Ren? Do you think they are going to be standalone, or do you think they're going to lead towards what happened in Loki?
I think, well, first of all, I do really personally like that it's all an anthology. Each week we dive into these different universes, very much Marvel's Twilight Zone. Every story is different and cherry picks, but I think the trailers have shown us little glimpses of Doctor Strange traveling through these multiverses and connecting them. We know for sure we're going to see Captain Carter again this season, because there's a scene with him, with Doctor Strange and Captain Carter. And I think that leads into the multiverse of madness, and that's all I can say.
That's all he can say. That's all he can say.
Because I legit don't know for sure, like on What If. I don't legit know for sure if What If is going to pull that off.
Yeah.
But judging from the stuff I know, it's got to do that.
Do you know what though? Yeah. I like the fact that we've spent 10, 12 years now watching, if not more, all of these films, and everything has been following on, and it's a massive, massive commitment. Whereas what I like about this is each story is its own individual thing, and you can just drop in and drop out whenever you want to. I like that about this. I like that there's no pressure at the minute to be kind of staying on top of it and making sure that you've seen this one, that one. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of, it's just a bit of a breather for us.
Yeah, if you know everything already from the MCU, it helps, but it's not essential at this stage with What If. It's you can sort of, you can enjoy it. You can enjoy it for what it is. I think Ren's right. I think it is going to lead to something, but I do like the fact that it is like going down the anthology line. But I think some people, the big thing that draws some people into the MCU is the fact that it's all intertwined, and because it always is, and continuity is a massive thing with the MCU, which is one of the reasons I love it. I think maybe because we've never really had anything that's standalone, it's maybe throwing people a little bit, because nothing's been not. I mean, there's been a few sort of like retcons, but it's all intertwined, isn't it, so far?
Yeah. I think that speaks to the healthy relationship that the MCU has created with the fans, because you don't need to watch everything that is, but the more you watch, the more you take away from the whole thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
definitely.
It sounds really cheesy, but it's the beauty of the MCU, isn't it?
And it is.
Not to sort of slate DC, but it's what DC have tried to replicate, and hopefully they will. But that's why the MCU is absolutely killing it, and other things are sort of struggling to keep up. So moving on, then we also find out at this point, we don't find out that Yondu lied, but we find out that Yondu has told T'Challa that Wakanda's been completely destroyed. I didn't watching it. I bought that completely. I didn't straight away think.
Yeah.
I was full in. What do you reckon, Ren? Did you think no way, or?
I don't think I fully bought into it, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt, because the episode does start with T'Challa's dad, T'Chaka, saying that the world is filled with men who just want violence, they just want to destroy everything. So then when you juxtapose that with T'Challa just saying that, and you get that heartbreak, that sorrow that he has in the voice performance, I bought into it. I wouldn't say 100%, but I accepted it, prepared for it to be true.
Yeah.
The thing is, as well, it's not like massively out there, rather like unrealistic as well, because I suppose the effect that losing T'Challa would have had on T'Chaka, it's like, he could have just decided to go to war with everybody, and they've ended up losing, basically. So at this point as well, this is where we get the MacGuffin of the episode. So the thing that we're all chasing after, because obviously in Guardians it was the Space Stone, but now it's the Embers of Genesis, which we kind of get a hint. We find out what it does at the end, even though Nebula sort of gives us an explanation. But again, straight away we get into what I suppose could be done with it, but T'Challa wants to just use it to feed millions of people. Basically kind of solve Thanos's issue by basically giving everybody double the resources. I think it's then when Korath calls him Captain Genocide.
Captain Genocide.
Captain Genocide's not going to be happy with this plan. That's good. And then we find out at that point that the new big bad is the Collector. And I mean, I thought, we knew from trailers that he was probably going to be the villain of the episode, but the fact that he's just
intrigued by it.
Yeah, he's completely taken over the Black Order.
Yeah.
It's just that threw me massively. And, we sort of see more of him later on, but again, Benicio del Toro is so good. He's so good as the Collector. He's just, again, the voice acting in the episode was brilliant. It's like the thing about him in Guardians of the Galaxy is like all his little eccentricities with like his little waving his hands around and the stupid little bowing and stuff like that. And you can see it and he emotes it really well. Again, he's not as flamboyant in the episode in the cartoon version, but you still just get that sense of this dude's absolutely crazy from the way he reads the script.
There's a glee he has to his insanity that just fits really well with what we know about the character.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's hitting the nail on the head. He's just absolutely insane, isn't he? So Yondu obviously here's the plan. He's not happy about getting involved with the Collector at all. But again, super smooth T'Challa, just like two words, convinces him, talks him into it. You go in, sort of thing. And I think it's partly down to the fact that he clearly can talk people into doing a lot of things, all for good. But again, it's the fact that, and it sort of gets picked up on later on, Yondu does like love him like he does Peter in the main timeline. He sees him as his son, and it's just like whatever my son wants to do, if he thinks it's the right thing to do, that's that's the way we'll go. So they head to nowhere, and then that's where they sort of break down the plan, which is where this full on becomes a heist movie. And it was very Ocean's 11, and I loved it. I love the whole thing of the talk through, the fact that we sort of saw the plan going, we saw it sort of playing out as they were talking through it, and we got more people back. So we got the whole Black Order. So we got Proxima Midnight, Cull Obsidian, and Proxima Midnight was Carrie Coon again, who was obviously in the in Infinity War. I was going to say in Endgame. I don't think she actually gets any lines in Endgame, to be fair, does she? No. No. Korath and Thanos and the Ravagers cause a riot for a distraction, and then that's when we see obviously T'Challa breaks in, and that's when we start seeing pieces of his collection. So we see Cosmo, we see a Dark Elf, and then Howard the Duck. Seth Green back as Howard the Duck.
It.
Again, I completely forgot he was going to be in it. I remember him being in the trailers.
I'd forgotten.
Yeah,
and I thought
completely
it was brilliant.
forgotten. Seth Green. I think he got a couple of lines, didn't he, in a post-credit scene?
He had a one line, I think. He has many more lines here.
He does. He gets to like proper have fun with it, doesn't he? Just like again, you could tell it was Seth Green. You can always tell it's Seth Green. Yeah. But he did it really well. I'm a little bit gutted we didn't get more Howard the Duck, because his part was over pretty quickly. Yeah. I was a little bit devastated that we didn't get more of him.
Maybe there's an episode dedicated to Howard the Duck in the future.
We never know. Could be.
I don't know. I'm just suggesting. I don't know. I don't.
Every time Ren says something, he sort of says it and then slightly looks away from the camera, and me and Andy sitting there like, does he know? Does he know this?
Is this a hint?
When I look away from the camera, by the way, I'm looking at you guys, because my laptop is here to the side, and then I'm looking at the camera.
That explains it. That explains it now. It's not as.
I reckon there'll be like a little duo of Howard the Duck and Rocket going out on a little mission together. That'd be awesome.
I'd be all right with that. Yeah. Doesn't even need to be a mission, just a bar. No. That's fine. Yeah. I just watch Howard the Duck and Rocket just at a bar.
Howard's getting bladdered,
getting back for,
and Rocket's cleaning somebody's prosthetic leg or something in the bar. Like, that's all it'll be.
I'd watch it. Yes, if that's part of the Christmas special, I'm all right with that.
It'd be like Marvel's version of Family Guy, wouldn't it? Let's be honest.
Do you know what though? What they did with what's his MODOK? I could see like a Howard the Duck style R-rated thing for Hulu, and obviously we'd get it on Disney Plus in the UK. So Proxima Midnight, when she sees that it's the Ravagers causing the riot, that's obviously when she realizes that it's a diversion, and then they lock down the building, and that's what leads to T'Challa finding the Wakandan chip and the message from his dad. It's quite tough to watch. I found that the end of it quite tough and quite emotional, but that was the first bit that was just like, they obviously are dead, and it's just that whole sort of like father-son relationship, and it got me a little bit. That, anything that Yondu's in with dads, it's just like hard to watch.
I know
it is. My one, I won't call it a problem, or I won't say it's even a negative that like destroys the episode or anything like that. But my one issue with that moment is that despite that message, which was really heartfelt, really emotional, like you said, but to me, like, T'Challa seeing that message doesn't really invalidate that Wakanda was destroyed. Because if Wakanda was destroyed, it would have been after T'Challa was taken by Yondu. So that message is solely dedicated, unless I'm forgetting something, but that message is solely dedicated to saying, hey, my son is out there, please go find him. He could have sent that message before Wakanda was destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose. I think I get the impression he just sort of saw how old his dad looked, but it could have been. It could have been.
That's a good point. No, that's it.
We don't know though, do we? Because we
that's a
don't
good
know
point.
when he. Actually, I at first when T'Challa first told Nebula that the planet was destroyed, I don't know why, and he doesn't specifically say it, but I think I probably heard it slightly wrong as well. That T'Challa was like much older, and it was very recent that it had sort of been destroyed. That's how I originally read it, and it was only when I watched it the second time that it was really sort of like it really made sense all the way through. But it does play a little bit loose with things, doesn't it? But I think again another criticism that I've seen of it, and I suppose I had more so with the first episode than this was the pacing of it. But again, they're trying to cram what could quite easily be a full 2-hour MCU movie into probably 28 minutes when you take the credits out of it. So they've got to sort of like take certain sort of shortcuts through it. But again, I think it's the thing with the MCU, isn't it? They sort of not that this goes on the fact that you already know things, but I think the further we're getting into the MCU, the less detailed they are being, because people like to firstly theorize about the things, but also I think they expect now people to have a decent, a good knowledge of things in the background, don't they? Yeah. We then get the whole double cross, triple cross thing with Nebula. So again, that threw me. I thought she was completely bad. I think when I was watching it, I was like, I'm sat on my own in my office at my real job watching it on the iPad, because that's what I watch. That's what I watch what I have on my lunch. And I think I actually said out loud, "We're back to the old Nebula," just like completely on my own in the office. It literally came out of my mouth.
I did a similar thing. I was like, well, leopard never changes its spot.
Exactly.
I fell for it.
Yeah,
I completely fell for it.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? That it's completely, you completely buy it with it being Nebula. Yeah. And that's probably one of the reasons why they didn't make it Gamora, because they could have quite easily done this whole thing with Gamora instead of Nebula, but you wouldn't have bought it. You'd have thought, there's a triple cross going on here, but you full on bought it with Nebula. And then there's like a little bit of a moment, isn't there, when T'Challa gets thrown in the cell, and he says, none of you are my family. You never were. I was going to say, you can sort of see it, how like not happy any of them are, particularly Yondu. But again, it sort of shows that he's got that relationship with him. And I suppose all of the Ravagers do. They were in Guardians anyway, even though they were sort of on the bad side, but they were a family there. And I think now that they're good, it's probably a stronger family.
Yes, because I think they have a much stronger bond here, because most of them, if not all, I'm sure some Ravagers were already Ravagers before T'Challa. They were then converted to an entire new way of life by T'Challa, and then a whole lot more, like Thanos and Korath, were brought into this family by T'Challa. So seeing him break apart from that it's really heart-wrenching from their perspective.
Yeah, I suppose you get quite deep with it, but it's like, if T'Challa has convinced them to go from, sounds really basic this, to go from evil to good, they're basically now basing their entire personalities on T'Challa and his sort of leadership of this group. And then for him to go, actually, I never really cared about any of you. You're not my family. It's like they must question, like, hang on, well, why am I good again? Why am I good again now? And Korath even says, that really hurts. The words hurt, sort of thing. And you can tell he's proper fazed by it. But I bet Thanos would be as well. Yeah, because he would. He'd question it. So with that's when we find out then after that Nebula is doing a triple cross. So she saves the Ravagers, including T'Challa's best friend Korath, as he exclaims that he is. And we find out that it's all part of the plan so that Nebula can get the embers of Genesis. We then find out that the Collector is planning to dissect T'Challa. But he's saved. So I think he escapes himself, doesn't he? I'm trying to remember what happened now, because it was a bit.
He uses the necklace to break the glass.
He does, yeah. And then I think Karina, who is Ophelia Lovebond from Guardians 1, she sort of steps in and saves him, doesn't she? With the does she shoot?
So she does. She takes Ebony Maw out. I don't remember how. Because he
thinks she
grabs the
shoots him.
glass and puts it. That's it. She shoots him in the back.
Shoots him. I can remember shooting somebody, and I was thinking, was it the Collector? But no, yeah, it was Ebony Moore. Yeah, I completely forgot he was there. And then we get the first part of the battle. Then the T'Challa versus the Collector battle, and there's just Easter eggs galore. Yeah,
yes.
This is just like, this is where it pays off to have watched all the MCU films 27 times, like probably all three of us.
Yeah.
So what did we get? So we get the arm, which was sad because he says, I hacked it off the carcass of a terribly chatty Cronin. And it's just like, poor Korg. Poor Korg. It's like Tommy Lee Jones in last week's episode. They couldn't afford to get Taika Waititi. So it's like, kill him off and get rid of him. I feel like it was.
But also, Captain America is that in this universe.
Well, yeah, you'd assume so, wouldn't you? And Thor potentially. The fact that Mjolnir is there. Whether we see a continuation of this universe in either the rest of What If, or whether we see it in series 2. Earth is like. I mean, you don't know who else is on Earth, I suppose, but it's going to be pretty helpless if there's no Cap and there's no Thor.
Do you reckon that there could be continuations already in the series? For example, we've seen Undead Cap, haven't we? So what if that's how he's got the shield?
Yeah, but we've also seen a group of Avengers that's T'Challa, Star-Lord, Thor is next to him, but also Warrior Princess Gamora, which is what I like to call her at this point.
Warrior Princess, that's it. Yeah, I don't know if that is the name, but it needs to be.
Yeah, love it.
I know obviously we've seen it in the trailers. I think since Infinity War, I don't trust Marvel with trailers because I think they show us what they want us to see. And I think they're a good indication, but I never fully trust them. I wouldn't be surprised, for instance, if we didn't ever see that team up. And then particularly from this episode, the trailer that I think got released a couple of days ago showed the TVA changing the wording of the story from Yondu, the Ravagers. Have you seen this, Ren? Did you see the trailer from a couple of days ago?
I don't think so. I know I've downloaded it to use the clips on my reviews, but I haven't actually seen it.
So at the start of the trailer, I think it was only a day or so ago to sort of obviously push this. It starts off with basically the Watcher talking about, which I think is pretty much the same sort of conversation you had at the start of the episode. But you see an animated version of the computer from the TVA with the branch timelines going all off it. And then it's got like an explanation or like a brief sort of excerpt from the start of Guardians, basically saying that the Ravager ship lands in Missouri. And then Missouri gets deleted and Wakanda gets typed in, which is like, that obviously wasn't part of the episode. But I was wondering, are we going to find out that maybe these alternate universes are being created by somebody messing about at the TVA? But we didn't see that at all. So is that going to come later on, or is it all just Marvel's trailers?
I still believe there's a purpose to the fact that What If comes immediately after Loki and before Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man No Way Home. Because and the discussion, the director has had a ton of interviews and he has said this is canon. I think this is canon because those timelines, that entire insanity of the multiverse that just opened, it's what we're seeing in this show.
Yeah. That's it can't just be standalone anthology. It's got to all be connected. I need live action Thanos. It's a little thing in the back of my head. I'm like, I need and Peggy Carter. But anyway, moving on. So he's got Cap Shield. He's got Mjolnir. He's got Malekith's dagger because he gets that out and starts fighting with that. And then the one I was most impressed with, even more than Mjolnir, was Hela's crown. And it gives him the powers. He can create the Necroswords as well. So again, he's defeated Hela. Someone's defeated Hela, and he's ended up getting the crown. He's gone from not particularly tough, the Collector, to, I know he's obviously full of cybernetic enhancements, but if he's been able to take out Hela, it's pretty. It's telling a lot, isn't it? Yeah. One thing I was a bit disappointed by, because I think he would be worthy, is that T'Challa didn't grab at any point Mjolnir. Thought that was a dead cert. Every time Ren looks at the camera and says something, I'm like, has he seen this?
No, I haven't seen anything about this, honestly.
Okay.
But it's a good idea. I don't know if they want to dive into that can of worms, because a lot of people already debate who's worthy and who is not.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be interesting, especially in What If. You don't have to justify anything for the sacred timeline MCU. It just happened in this universe. Instead of Captain America, it was T'Challa, the other person who lifted Mjolnir.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about continuity, do you? But if T'Challa can be turning Thanos from being a genocidal maniac to Captain Genocide in the team, then you'd think he was worthy enough of holding Mjolnir. So while that fight's going on anyway, Thanos lets the Ravagers escape, and he ends up basically taking on the Black Order on his own.
That.
And I like the way Nebula says you must be crazy, and he says, I'm not crazy,
I'm mad.
And it's just yes, perfect. That's like the best line. So whoever's been writing this show has been like, I've got to get Mad Titan in there somewhere, and it's like yes, I've got it in.
And can you imagine writing this show? It must be so fun.
Yeah,
it must be. Well, I've seen a couple of interviews with AC Bradley, and some of the other ideas that she's had, which we talked a little bit about in the news. I mean, some of them. Did you read one the other week that they had to? She was turned away. She wasn't allowed to do it because it was basically the plot to Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah,
half of the plot.
One of her stories. Half the plot, exactly. Yeah, but it must be so fun just to sit here and go. And it is. It's the title. What if this happened? What if that happened? The massive changes here, massive changes there. There was one that they were going to bring the Rocketeer into an episode with Steve and Peggy.
Yeah,
and it's like just the fact that they can even potentially consider dipping into other properties and dragging them into this. It's just the opportunities where they can go with it. And again, if we do have a slight anthology feel to it, it can go on forever. It doesn't really need to matter massively. Even if after this story arc finishes, we end up with the multiverse stories over in the MCU, we can still keep cranking out What If episodes because they don't matter to the overarching story at all, do they?
I agree.
But yeah, Thanos versus the Black Order was brilliant, particularly when he was fighting Cull Obsidian, because that was the one that I was questioning, like, who's going to win this, basically. And then he ends up getting beaten and saved by Nebula, which was quite nice, because she's sort of implied that she still hated him, and he wasn't. What did she call him? She wouldn't call him Dad. She was. She said, "I'm lucky. He's lucky. I call him the big guy."
The big guy.
That's it.
The big guy, yeah. But obviously, she's still got that. She's still got that sort of respect and love for him to a degree.
Yeah.
And then we go back to another sort of parent-child fight, really. So we go back to T'Challa and Yondu. So Yondu rescues him, and that's when he says, "I'm not going to leave here without my kid." And that was the bit that was a bit like, "Oh, no, it's not going to be a good episode. I'm going to struggle on through this one." But it's a
grr moment. It's what I like to call it.
It is. I like that. Yeah, well, I'm robbing that one. Except it's all been recorded, so everybody will know. Everybody will know every time we do it. So the Collector. I know I mentioned it before. The cybernetic enhancements. He really holds his own. It really surprised me, even from the trailers, because the clips in the trailers, because you saw a bit of this fight, were just like they were just beating him to a pulp, and it was quite easy. But he was a challenge, and I know obviously T'Challa's not got superpowers, but it was a tough fight. They only just sort of won, didn't they?
Yeah, just barely. And they won. I like that they won because of the same reason that Cull Obsidian and Proxima Midnight won, because it was 2 against 1. They have the strength in numbers.
Yeah. That's it. No, that's it completely. And the sneakiness, I suppose. Yeah. And it's where even though they're not the Ravagers anymore, aren't what the Ravagers used to be. They are all good now and doing what they should be doing. The Ravager sort of spirit is still there, and it's like, right, how can we get around this? Because we're not going to win this with brute force. We need to be sneaky Ravagers here, and they do it. So they rob his. He steals his gauntlet or his bracelet, as he calls him, and they lock him in the display, don't they? And then that's when Karina gets it and basically lets everybody in the collection out to sort of like, exactly, yeah. And I like the way he's like, oh, karma
Karma.
at the end because it's Disney Plus. We can't swear, so it was a good replacement.
Yeah.
It was a good replacement for it.
And it makes sense for the collector. He would say that he's self-aware enough to say that there was on the second watch. I rewatched it yesterday, even after putting up the review and all that. There was it's not an error in animation, but there's something in the shot that they should have deleted it. Because in the final shot where it zooms out to see all the aliens going at the cage, he has the bracelet on that they took out.
Oh, really?
I never noticed that.
Yeah, I watched it like 3 times while I had the screeners. But if you go to that moment, to that shot where it zooms out, he has that bracelet again. I'm like, damn it.
It just takes away the polish of Marvel and the fact that they do make mistakes. We're all human,
how quick do you reckon they'll edit it?
I know that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah,
this episode's gonna do numbers. This episode's gonna do numbers just because of that.
That's the selling point of this episode. Forget the title. Forget the what if breakdown. We've uncovered an issue that Marvel have left in one of the episodes. Yeah, maybe we could go viral. That'd be good. So T'Challa and Yondu, so everyone's escaped. T'Challa and Yondu escape with Cosmo, and then that's when T'Challa forgives Yondu. Yeah, it was good that I know they're all the collection got out, didn't they? But somebody needed to look after the dog. And then they go back to Earth. So they go back to Wakanda, and that's when I thought it was weird that they took the Ravagers. It just felt weird, like Thanos and Yondu and Kraglin and Taserface all standing there seriously meeting the King of Wakanda. It was just it felt like
meet the gang.
Exactly. It felt like The Greatest Showman. You know, The Greatest Showman where they all go and meet Queen Victoria. It felt like that. It did. It felt like that sort of thing. But yeah, they all have a big family reunion. And that's when again bits I picked up with it where it was Okoye talking to Thanos and being like, "It is genocide. It's just genocide."
And then again, he's like, "But it's efficient."
It's efficient. It's good. And then Korath saying, "Yeah, well, me and T'Challa are basically best friends. That's it." And I know it got a little bit more emotional, obviously at the very end. But that got me. As Ren said, that was a grr moment. It was like, you know, the fact that he kind of had like he had his new family and his old family, but I feel like to a degree, not that he left T'Chaka on bad terms, but T'Chaka was sort of like trying to hold him back to a degree, and it was through like fear and caring for him. But it was very sentimental, wasn't it?
I was wondering at the end whether we were going to go back and Killmonger was in the throne.
Ooh. That's another episode, probably.
Yeah, well, because we've seen him in the adverts and stuff. So I thought to myself, maybe that could have followed on from that, and it'd have been a bit of his story. But it didn't happen. So
yeah. It didn't. But you've got to. I do wonder to a degree. Are all these stories, like you said, are they all going to be connected? Because it does look like when we see the bits with Killmonger in it in the trailers, it does look like he seems to have sort of command over Wakanda because he's got like the rhinos and stuff. So I do wonder whether there is going to be a bit of a connection there, but how far down the line we get with episodes before we start to see the links. I know, like Ren, as you said, each episode sort of ends on not a cliffhanger, but potential for a follow-up to the story. But we've not really had anything yet, and I know we've only had 2. We've not really had anything to link them together.
It's apart obviously from the Watcher, who can see all these universes unfold.
Yeah. Because I wondered whether these were all separate universes before it started, or whether they were all one universe where it was all different. And again, it's from the trailers when you see the whole, you know, when you see them teaming up and doing that Avengers shot in the trailers. But I did wonder that. But then we get onto that.
One thing I would have loved to have seen in the collectors, kind of all in that room, would have been Alligator Loki.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Imagine if you'd have just seen Alligator Loki in one of the things, like just
they missed that
stuff like that. I'd have just been like, get in, love it.
That would have been brilliant. Marvel, if you're listening, when you go and take the bracelet off the collector's hand, put an Alligator Loki in one of the cages. Just do it. No one will know. Everyone will just think it was your idea because no one will listen to this. But yeah, go back and do that. So that's when we're on to that sort of follow-up ending, and it was very short again, but it was Peter Quill working in a Dairy Queen, who everybody, including me, seemed to think from the trailers was Scott Lang working in a Dairy Queen rather than a Baskin Robbins. I think I saw a few people on Twitter thinking that. But yeah, so he's working in the Dairy Queen. It wasn't Chris Pratt doing the voice because again, it's such a small part. No, apparently not.
Okay,
but it was.
I thought it was at first. It was Kurt Russell,
but it was
again,
Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
If you can't get Chris Pratt back to do one line, but you can get Kurt Russell back to do two lines. But again, I want to see even and the way he says that. Jeffrey Wright says that it's another family reunion, but it's going to spell the end of the world. But it's a story for another day. We've got to be getting that. We've got to be seeing it at some point.
I think so, because this final scene is very different from the last episode's final scene, because Peggy comes to the present, and you felt this throughout the episode. It's very much the same with these little things changed. This episode is completely out there, and they bring a new character, a new actor entirely just for that one scene. I think we're definitely going to see more of this universe. I think this as a direct continuation in that shot that we talked about with the alternate Avengers, Guardians of the Multiverse, whatever,
hopefully.
With Star-Lord, T'Challa, Warrior Princess Gamora, and whatnot.
Yeah, hopefully. It's because there's so much more to that story. And then at the end we get again one of the toughest bits, the black screen dedicated to our friend, our inspiration, our hero, Chadwick Boseman. That it's still tough. Yeah, still, I mean, how long's it been since he passed away? It must have been over a year now.
Yeah, it's gotta be a little over a year now. I still remember, because when I woke up, you guys are at the same place I am, so you know the time difference. I woke up to that news, and immediately, because we live in such a strange world, immediately I was like, no. People are making a horrible joke about this. And unfortunately, they weren't. I actually wish
the first thing you go to, isn't it?
Yeah.
You wait. It's the one time. Well, not that you wish anybody dead, obviously, but it hit hard, didn't you? Didn't it? Yeah.
So it's not a year yet. It's going to be a year on the 28th this month. So a little over a week from now.
Oh, okay, it's quite well timed then, isn't it? The episode, and I suppose the whole series, especially because Chadwick Boseman apparently is in 4 episodes. I don't know whether it's all Star-Lord T'Challa or whether it's different versions or different variants. But it was tough. It's still it sounds to a degree. I suppose it sounds silly because we didn't know the guy, but I don't know. It's something. The MCU is such a big. And again, it sounds cheesy. It's a big part of a lot of people's lives, particularly people like ourselves who doing a podcast. Ren, you've got the podcast and the YouTube channel. So to see somebody like that, and the fact that he was still doing things, like this, doing that, acting, doing voiceovers, doing all the charity work he was doing. It's just, it's tough, isn't it?
It's tough. It's sad, but at the same time, it's a really beautiful. Not only portrayal of the character, but from what everybody who actually knew him says, the real man, and that comes across in this character. The impact. My favorite line of the episode actually was the best weapon in one's arsenal is a good argument.
Yeah,
and that rings so true. Not just to movies, but to real life. When people talk, that's when you actually resolve issues.
Yeah. That's it, isn't it? Yeah, and I think it did carry a lot more of him than particularly this version of T'Challa, even to a degree more than than a king. And he was an absolute legend, but it felt like you got to know him a little bit more. It felt a little bit more Chadwick Boseman, but I mean, all in all, sort of wrapped up. I think it was a fantastic episode. I think it was better than episode 1. Massive step up. Possibly would have, because I don't think it'd make a massive difference at this stage what order they released them in. I think they probably should have released this episode first, because I think they lost a little bit of buy-in to a degree with episode 1, because it seemed, particularly from the response we got, a little bit hit and miss episode 1. And I feel like this would have really got people in.
More disappointed if that episode had come later and been a dip in it, though. So I would have preferred them to have just dropped the first 2 episodes together. one after the
Yes,
other.
that's probably how they should have
And
done
then
it.
I've just
Like they
gone
did
on.
with WandaVision.
Yeah.
I actually do think it was, and I understand the criticisms from what you spoke about, but I do really think that it was very smart to put that Peggy Carter episode at first, because it's the tamest episode. So I think for the general audiences, it's the one that people were more like, people like my parents who are watching these shows, because I make them watch them, but they do enjoy it. I don't make them watch without them enjoying it, but it's the tamest episode, so people get the gist of what this is. People who are not nerds like us, who are looking at all the details, they recognize, oh, this is that movie, but now this changed. That's funny. And then this episode goes completely wild, and then the next episode also does that. But
what can you tell us about what you've already told us a bit, but what can you tell the listeners about the next episode?
So the next episode is a very, and already episodes 1 and 2 are like that, but it's another massive shift in tone. The next episode is a mystery thriller. You get to see a lot of familiar faces. You get to see okay. So what if, let's call it that, what if the Avengers were never formed? But I'm not going to tell you why they're never formed in this episode. The main character is Nick Fury. And then there are a lot of other characters by his side. We see Phil Coulson, Clark Gregg does return, Samuel L. Jackson does return, and then you know this, so I'll confirm that Loki is in the episode, and that's all I can say.
I'm even more excited.
I'm so excited.
I knew it was Loki, but didn't know Nick Fury. And do you know what? The biggest excitement for me, Coulson's back at the MCU. That's the thing. It shouldn't be that exciting, but it is.
If you love Coulson's, if you liked Korath being a fanboy of T'Challa, remember that Coulson is a fanboy of Captain America. There are some really good jokes about that.
Okay.
Brilliant. Amazing. Cannot wait. Right. Well, thank you for shedding a little bit of light on that one for us, Red. And that's pretty much us. Thank you very much for joining us for the second episode of our What If Chronicles, and so taking the time to break it down with us. Can you just let the listeners know where they can find you and what you've got coming up on your YouTube channel?
So you can find me on Instagram at RenVieira93. It's more of a personal account, but I do always let you know what I'm watching when I'm watching it. And then on Twitter, Letterboxd, and YouTube at Ren Geekness. Got quite a few things going up. I actually just uploaded my review of The Green Knight, which finally I was able to watch it. And I'm probably seeing Candyman this upcoming week, and maybe another thing that I won't tell you right now because it's not confirmed.
Okay, but it sounds like there's plenty of good stuff coming.
Hopefully.
So same sort of thing that we talk about, except Ren's doing it on YouTube and not just focused on Marvel and DC basically. So if you're not already following Ren on Twitter and YouTube, and obviously like Instagram and stuff like that, like you said, go and check him out there. But other than that, cheers, Ren. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you guys. It was my pleasure, and I'll be back anytime you want me.
Fantastic. We'll definitely get you back on. Right, Sam, should we do Pod Fans Assemble?
Let's do it.
Pod Fans Assemble.
So we started off with a poll to ask how people felt about episode 2. We said, let us know your thoughts. So we had 89% of people say that they loved it.
Yeah.
We had 7% say it was still only okay. And we still got 4% that still don't like What If.
I don't get it.
No,
I don't get it. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Like I said last week, if we all like the same thing, it'd be boring. Yeah. I can't really wrap my head around the okay. I could the first episode. I was there with you all. I was 100%. I was very on the fence. I feel like this one just took it to a whole different level though. But again, each to their own. Should we see what the comments were?
Yeah. Okay. So KW Eldon said, loved hearing Chadwick Boseman again. Rooker did an amazing job, and the fact that they got so many of the great actors to come back is awesome. definitely have criticism of patterns I see emerging from the show as a whole, but I'll save them for a different episode if they continue. That's quite intriguing. I'd like to know what he's...
Fair enough. I want to know what the patterns are. I'm assuming it's the pacing, which again I get, but I feel like it's just it's a 28-minute episode, and you're trying to cram what could have been a 2-hour movie into a 28-minute episode. But I will be very interested to see if that's not it. What KW Weldon thinks next week, if he's kind enough to get in touch again.
Yeah. Okay, so then we had Matty, who said, very disappointed. I thought the twist of Ravagers taking the wrong kid knowingly was an eye roll. Also, terrible writing that T'Challa turned Thanos into a good guy with just a conversation. Being different isn't enough. Please let it make sense at least.
Do you know what? I wasn't disappointed, but I kind of can see every point he's made.
I can see it. I think
you've got to enjoy it for what it is.
I think you've got to just enjoy it for what it is. But I also think that the idea is that, even in Black Panther and stuff, T'Challa's main good point was that he could talk everybody round. He had this way of explaining things to people that it was really about proper morals and values and stuff like that. And I know that you're never obviously gonna turn everybody, but I think it's a nice idea that he was so pure that something that even just a conversation with him could change somebody's, because it's not changed Thanos'
whole perspective.
Yeah,
it hasn't
changed his perspective or his opinion, because he's still saying it's a good idea and it's efficient and all of that kind of stuff. But it stopped him actually performing the act, and I think that's why they've got away with it, is because he's not saying that T'Challa is wrong or anything like that, but it stopped him from doing kind of the genocidal bit, but he's still kind of going, I still think it's the right thing, but I'm just not going to put it into action, if that makes sense.
I suppose you've got to think as well, particularly from the episode, I know we're going into detail here, when did he turn Thanos? Because Nebula's got, apart from the tiny little bit of a cybernetic enhancement around her eye, she's not been completely ripped apart. She looks whatever race that she is, apart from a tiny little thing. So I would imagine from that T'Challa potentially turned Thanos to the good side quite a while ago in that case, because there was no Gamora at all either. So you might maybe Thanos wasn't as mental at that point, and he wasn't as committed to the to the cause.
Thinking about what we said about Gamora not being there, he was already on his journey to get rid of half of the universe when he met Gamora, because that's what he was doing to the planet. So it made sense that he wouldn't have had her with him.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I think I can see what Matty's saying, but I feel like you've got to put it down to the fact that it is a 28-minute episode, and I feel like if you'd had a 2-hour movie out of it, you probably could have explained a lot better how he managed to turn Thanos. But I think we've just got to, the fact that it's 28 minutes, you're going to run with it.
Yeah.
Keep saying 28 minutes. It might have been longer, but I would imagine I think it was 34 minutes with all the credits. So it's a short episode.
So Peacemaker's back this week. And said, well, this episode was way better than last week's episode because it didn't follow the same story beats of the movie it was based on. So quite like that. This episode was so good, and I want to revisit that world. It is crazy how much stuff changed because of T'Challa and Yondu doomed the universe. He also then said, I think they should have released it all at once because every episode will be completely different. So just all at once may help the show rather than weekly. So like that, which is similar to what I said before, at least drop in episodes 1 and 2 so that we could see that there was, difference between each one. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think that Disney would drop everything all at once. I think they want to keep.
No, it's part of the. I think they probably should have dropped a couple of episodes, but it's kind of the point that it gets people talking, and we wouldn't have a podcast to do every week. So, so I disagree.
So then we've got Jones 2552. Nah, I'm not feeling it anymore. It's a rush job fan fiction story that's most likely already been a thing, but is so obscure it's never found again, which is great for Disney. Another rehash of a familiar story, only this time it's drawing on the Black Panther fans. It was cool seeing Laika, the CCCP's dog, present and looking much better than what really happened this time around. but the laugh I had was for Ducky's scenes.
Yeah, he was good. Howard the Duck was brilliant. I feel like
I get it, and at the same time I don't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I get it. I think it's going to hit some hardcore fans a bit more raw because there's a certain kind of tone to everything, but at the same time, you know, there's a multiverse happening and things are changing, and this is just a bit of fun. Everything.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, it needs to be treated as a bit of fun rather than it being part of the greater story.
And, you know, we've just come out of losing Cap, Iron Man, and Black Widow, among others. You know, Gamora, things like that. We've had a lot of losses in the last couple of movies and stuff. So to have this where there's a little bit more lightheartedness to it, I feel is again a bit of a breath of fresh air for the minute. Just because otherwise it's going to be pulling us back down constantly into the same kind of gritty. Do you know what I mean?
We're due a bit of lightheartedness, basically. Yeah, it's all been quite heavy, and it's probably going to get really heavy with the multiverse. So this is just
introduction to it is just a bit of lighthearted fun, seeing how things could have gone. You know, nothing too dark and horrible, and you know things like that. So I'm kind of taking it on the chin at the minute because I'm quite liking just a little bit of a. It's like our heads have just come above water and we're taking that chance to breathe a bit before we go back into quite the roaring again as it all kind of kicks off.
Definitely.
We've also got Keeper of the Sacred Flame, who said, "I feel a lot of success story haters are going to extremely hate all of What If. With the premise of the episode, seemed like a bit of a waste though, unless, as we hope, it will all come together in the end."
I feel like we said this with Ren.
All come together.
Yeah, but I don't feel like we're going to get continuations of everybody's stories, and they're not all going to drop into the MCU.
Yeah.
It's just going to be something carries over, but something small. But I said I'm all right with it.
Yeah. Then Ben said, "I was expecting a goofy Quill like T'Challa, but didn't expect a T'Challa like Star-Lord, and it was great."
Yeah. I agree, 100%. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting. It was like he was more T'Challa than he was as T'Challa. Does that make sense? Is that what we said with Ryan? He was more he just seemed more Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's a really nice little
T'Challa
nod
this time though, rather than just T'Challa.
Yeah.
You know
and he's got to be, by not having the super strength, he's got to be a little bit more clever and a little bit more suave with it.
If you've got no brawn, you've got to focus a bit more on the brain and how you word thing and your persuasive nature and things like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I like that.
Then the tap stream said, absolutely blown away by this episode. Really love how much more it leans into the what if scenario and breaks away from the familiarity into something new. Can't wait for more. I agree. Yeah. That was the big thing for me. I like that it's really kind of taken a complete left turn and gone on a totally different path, rather than it being a little bit parallel to what did happen.
It wasn't just Guardians of the Galaxy with T'Challa.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was totally different.
Yeah, it was good.
Rachel Miller then said, "Such a beautiful episode. I was shouting out, 'Oh my God,' and just open mouth. The twists in it were brilliant. I absolutely loved it. Yes, tears at the end too."
Yeah. It was a tough watch. It was it was an amazing episode, but it was a tough watch. And the more Chadwick Boseman episodes we're going to get, the tougher it's going to get. I think we haven't sort of got there yet because we know that there's still a little bit more Chadwick Boseman to come. But once we get to that fourth visit, it's going to be that's going to be it.
Yeah,
it's going to be it.
I know. Paul Michael then said, "Much better. Would have liked to have seen the discussion between Star-Lord and Thanos to make the Mad Titan a good guy. Although I enjoyed seeing that type of Thanos, I just didn't buy it. Still loved it though." I'm glad we didn't see that conversation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not sure that they'd get it right.
Yeah.
I think
there had to be a bit of guessing there, didn't it?
Way of doing it. So I feel like the fact that you can use your imagination to think of what that would be to kind of fulfill your own satisfaction needs, I think is better than actually showing it and going, "Oh, well, that was a bit naff.
That was a bit crap."
You know, I'm not in there. I don't believe it. You know, that kind of thing. So yeah, but that's just my opinion.
No, I agree.
TJ Sutton said, "I thought this episode was great. R.I.P. Chadwick. It will be interesting to see what happens with the tease at the end for a future story. I would really like it if T'Challa disappears into space in Black Panther 2. We never see him again, but now he's out there making the universe better. I also loved Korath as his best friend with a load of laughing emojis.
As I said, Korath was I'm surprised we got this far into Podfans Assemble without mentioning Korath, because he was. I mean, good Thanos was brilliant, but Korath was so good. And again, Demon Hunter, he did such a good job of it. I can't recall seeing him in a comedic role before, and he nailed this. And I know it was voiceover, but he nailed it.
Yeah, he did. Totally. We've then got Alan Hangover alike. Absolutely amazing episode. So good to hear Chadwick once again. Also, how good was Thanos? And yes, definitely a tear shed at the end. We also had Tom say, much better than episode 1. Great to see a different story to the original and to see the dramatic consequences to such a seemingly small change, particularly Thanos.
Yeah.
So loads of people are focusing on Thanos, which again is really good because it was a shock. It was a shock to all of us. Like we said, seeing his name come up at the beginning, seeing Josh Brolin come up at the beginning, we were like, what are we expecting from this now? We know he's here.
Yeah.
But how?
I thought secret villain. I thought he's going to be. We think the Collector's going to be the bad guy, but it's going to be Thanos, and it's going to be him. Wow. It's going to be T'Challa beating him.
I didn't say it before, but you know what I thought? I thought, is this going to be the decision that Star-Lord makes when he finds out Gamora's dead? Was T'Challa going to be more cool and collective so that they did get the gauntlet off straight away? You know, at that point.
What, did it jump that far forward? Yeah.
Maybe. Don't know.
Yeah. Definitely didn't expect that. What we got, but I'm so glad we did. I didn't know I needed it until I saw it.
So Geeky Nate then said, okay, so one great episode, and love that Quill is just a dino worker. Cap Shield and Mjolnir are with the Collector. As such, I'd hazard a guess that the Collector's already started collecting Avengers in this universe, which makes me wonder about Earth's possible problems. Clearly, we'll be getting a part 2, and I think we will of others so far. Though these two shows could exist in the same universe, I don't think they do, but episode 2 has no need for the prime timeline to have happened from what we saw. I think by episode 6 we will see the different branches coming together.
Yeah, I think he's onto something. Yeah, onto something there completely. I do feel a bit sorry for Peter Quill. It's like, as good as T'Challa was, every time T'Challa was doing something that was amazing, I was like, poor Peter. he's just rubbish, isn't he? But he's good. We like him at the same time.
Yeah, well, it's what Ren said. You know, he's that lovable arsehole with a heart of gold, isn't he? Like,
yeah, that's it.
Just kids, what are we watching tonight? Commented. First up, I felt it was very respectful to Chadwick Boseman and his T'Challa. Totally. Loved the characters they used for it and how they were used. Korath Dimon was brilliant as a fanboy. Gonna call some BS on the fact Star-Lord is such a super nice guy. He talks big bad out of his idea and is basically changing the universe for good by being a good person. But hey, what if people were nice and it actually made the universe a better place? That would be nice.
It would be lovely. It would be lovely, and I think that's how you've got to. I think that's how you've got to look at it. You've got to view it as at the end of the day. It's a comic book TV show. It's a comic book cartoon. Do you know what I mean? It's like you don't have, everything doesn't have to be grounded in reality. And I suppose it's quite nice to think as just for a bit of entertainment, particularly with, I know we're not going to get political, but with all the crap that's going on at the moment, it's kind of nice just to get to sort of just leave the real world for a bit and go into that space with T'Challa and Thanos and his best mate Korath.
We then got Pink Ninja 190 saying, I loved it, my favourite so far. It was just so fun. T'Challa was great. He made me smile the whole episode. The Ravagers were awesome. Thanos was so great. He made me laugh so much. It was so weird and fun. I really hope we see Ravager Thanos again. He was the best. I don't think in this version he should be called Thanos. I think he should just be called Captain Genocide.
Yes. I want a t-shirt. I want a Captain Genocide t-shirt. Although that's probably not going to go down well.
And then when Ego showed up, Goosebumps, great episode.
Yeah, didn't expect Kurt Russell to pop up at the end. Not at all.
I saw Kurt Russell's name come up at the beginning, so I was like, he is going to show up. And then, because so much was going on, I completely forgot. And then I went to the diner at the end and went, ooh, what's this? And then I was like, oh yeah, he's here.
Yeah, good. I like it. Proper tease.
Yeah, definitely. Mischievous Scamp then said, this episode was very bittersweet. Had to fight back a few tears throughout. So amazing, though. Erikin said, in difference of last week's episode, which I didn't like, I absolutely adored this one. The pacing is great. The voice acting is 10 out of 10. The action scenes are great. And I didn't think I would have gotten so emotional with the show. Marvel really knows how to top themselves every single time. And the biggest thing for me is that with last week's episode, yes, I was hyped for the possibility of seeing Captain Carter on the big screen. But with this episode, I need this to be on the big screen. Sadly, that won't be possible.
That's it, isn't it?
I know.
It is very bittersweet.
Yeah.
It is. We need more of it, but we know we're not going to get it.
I know. So Stephanie Tittle then said how much of the character's story was written knowing what he was going through. He would have had to have the old upper echelons of Marvel management, his health woes. Yeah, so
yes.
At that point, they'll have probably known how much of this was a swan song goodbye to the most pure-hearted of people and characters. To watch this with my son, who was celebrating his 31st birthday yesterday, to knowing this beautiful young man was no longer with us, my heart was broken.
That's deep, that.
It is deep.
Thank you, Stephanie. It is, though. Do you know what? It's true. It's hard. He was an absolute legend, and it's probably one of the most upsetting sort of celebrity deaths that we've had. And Ren said it. It's like you hoped it was a hoax,
yeah,
and it wasn't. I think we've just got to be. I mean, as sad as it is, we need to be sort of. It sounds really deep, this, but we need to be thankful for obviously what we've had, and just the fact that we've still got 3 more episodes of Chadwick Boseman as well doing the voiceover. So he's not completely gone yet. But I'll also be very interested to see how they sort of wrap it up in Black Panther 2. But I'm pretty sure they'll do it. They'll do it respectfully.
Yeah. We've then got Paul Sears. This episode was definitely a leap from the first one. Really loved this take on the Guardian story. So many Easter eggs in this episode. Just hearing Chadwick Boseman's voice was hard enough. Made us realise just how much he will be missed in the MCU. Wakanda forever.
Yeah.
And then finally, Kenneth said this was wonderful. Really showed how different the MCU can get. And I suspect this is conditioning us for just that thing to happen in Phase 4 and beyond. Was wonderful performance by the late Chadwick Boseman. Karen Gillan killed it as an alternative Nebula too.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, no one's mentioned Nebula yet. Yeah, Karen Gillan, she's always good though, isn't she? But yeah, I love that alternate version. It was good, and the whole, as we said, that whole sexual tension between her and T'Challa, they didn't have to say anything. That's just how good the voice acting was in this episode. Everyone was great, but as I said, Chadwick Boseman, absolute legend, and he nailed it. He really did a good job of this. Is that everyone? Us? That's everyone. Yeah, that's all fantastic. Good. Should we wrap up?
Yeah, let's do it.
Brilliant. Right. So firstly, thanks everybody for getting involved in Podfans Assemble. Again, we're getting so many people get involved. We love it. Keep sending your messages in, keep sending your thoughts and theories in. Thanks for listening to the show. Don't forget to come back next week for our review of episode 3 of What If, which we now know a little bit more about. We know we're getting Loki. We know we're getting Nick Fury as the main character. Can't wait to see where the rest of the episode goes. But we'll be breaking it down. Just me and Anthony next week. Yeah. Boring old Nick and Anthony doing it. No guests. Every week, I don't know. Maybe we'll get somebody in last minute. But yeah, just us 2 next week. Please come back. You can find all our episodes at thatsuperherothing.com, along with all of our social media links. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. On the website, you can also sign up for our email newsletter where you receive new episode alerts, news and upcoming shows, and some behind-the-scenes looks at the show as well. You can contact us on any of our socials and submit thoughts and theories for next week's Podfans Assemble. If you've enjoyed the show, please do consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps us out, helps us massively get noticed, get seen by more people. And I suppose we should say as well, we are now just under 2 weeks off the Patreon launch. We're not going to go into any more detail than that this week. We've been doing a few bits. We will next week give you guys a full breakdown as to, obviously we know the launch date is 1st September, but next week is the week where we're going to give you a full rundown of the tiers, what's involved, everything really, so that you can hopefully join. Again, thank you for everybody who's shown an interest in it so far and everyone who's supported us. Other than that though, that's everything from me. Thank you very much for listening and we'll see you next week.
Cheers guys, see you next week. Bye.
Bye.